In this video, I will show you a comparative test between Panther tank of the G modification and Sherman Firefly. This test was conducted in 1946 in Sweden. I have already posted a shorts video of comparisons between the Panther tank and the M3 Lee. Many of you have written negative comments that the comparisons are unfair. If you listen carefully to my video there, I explain my position about this comparison. Now we have a new test and we will finally see which tank is better and which country's tank building is better. But before we begin, I must briefly tell you about the technical characteristics of the tanks. War Thunder experts can certainly skip this part. The Sherman Firefly weighs 32.2 tons. At the same time, you can see the size of the tank on the screen. The Panther weighs 45.5 tons. Its size is displayed on the screen. Let's look at their engines. The Sherman Firefly has a Chrysler a 57 multi-bank multi-fuel V8 engine installed. This engine produces 370 horsepower, maximum speed 40 kilometers per hour, range 240 kilometers. The transmission is mechanical, 4-speed with a torque converter. The Panther has a Maybach HL 230 V12 water-cooled engine, maximum 700 horsepower, maximum speed 45 kilometers per hour, range 200 kilometers. Keep this in mind because you can clearly see the difference on the test itself. Now let's move on to the comparative test of the two tanks. I remind you that this test was conducted in Sweden after the war in 1946. There will be 9 challenges in total. The first test of the tank is to drive through difficult grassy terrain. The Sherman Firefly tank passes the first test. The tank fails to drive through the thick grass. Tank tracks slide on the surface. Then a Panther passes through the same area. The tank manages to drive through difficult grassy terrain without problems. The next test for tanks is to overcome the forest. It is worth noting that the pine trees here are small in size. Sherman Firefly starts moving, but he fails to break trees and drive on. Several more attempts were made, but it couldn't pass through. Now it's the turn of the Panther tank. He drives at full speed, crushing trees under him. Now the tank has to drive through a pile of stones. The Panther drives through the rocks first. He manages to drive into them without any problems. There is a good grip of the tracks with the stones. Now it's the turn of the Sherman Firefly tank, but he doesn't manage to get on these rocks. There is no grip of the tracks with the stones and the tracks just slide over the rocks. The difference between the tracks of Panther and Sherman Firefly directly affects the passage of this test. In the next test, tanks need to drive through a water ditch. The soldier demonstrates to us the dimensions of the ditch. It is 1 meter deep and 2 meters wide. The Sherman Firefly drives through the ditch unhindered. The next Panther also passes without any problems. In this test, the tank will have to overcome a concrete barrier that is 1 meter high and is at 90 degrees. The Sherman Firefly tank goes first. He manages to drive a little bit, but he is also let down by the tracks as in the last test. There is no normal grip on the surface. Now a Panther is riding on the same concrete barrier. But here I want to stop the video and clarify one point. In order for the tank to overcome the concrete barrier, they spilled stones so that the tank could drive at an angle. But I noticed that there were more stones for the Panther tank than the Sherman Firefly. I can't tell you exactly if this is the case because the video was shot from different angles. Maybe I could be wrong, and it seems to me that there are more stones for Panther because of the angle of the video shooting. Write in the comments what you think about this. Let's go back to the test. Panther barely drives into this concrete barrier and almost rolls back down, but the driver manages to pull the tank out of the dangling state. Now the tanks need to climb the hill at a 20-degree angle. The Panther tank is the first to go up this hill. He climbs this slide without any problems. Next, the Sherman Firefly goes up the hill, but when he gets close to the top, he starts to slip and can't get any further. In the next test, tanks also need to climb the hill, but now it is at a 40-degree angle. Sherman Firefly tries to drive first, but again it is at the last moment when it's need to get to the top that the tank cannot overcome this. I honestly don't understand how the Sherman Firefly couldn't get on the hill at a 20-degree angle before. After all, according to his stated characteristics, it is written that he can climb at a 30-degree angle. Now the Panther tank turn. It climbs to the top of the hill without any problem. The next test for tanks is to drive through difficult snowy terrain. Sherman Firefly goes first. We can observe that the tank skids a little, but the tank manages to pass this section without getting stuck or stalling in the snow. The Panther tank also passes without problems. Along the way, he also crushed a tree. The final test is to overcome a meter-high embankment. This time, both tanks will try to overcome this obstacle at the same time. Panther manages to drive in without much effort. At the same time, the Sherman Firefly tries to drive in, but as in other tests, it is again let down by the tracks. The Panther does not stop and drives into the second obstacle. In the background, the Sherman Firefly unsuccessfully tries to drive in. Even acceleration does not allow it to catch on the tracks and drive through. This completes all the tests and you can see what the score is. The Panther tank was able to pass all the tests, which is really surprising. After all, there are a large number of reports on the internet by German tank crews about how they got stuck in the fields on the Eastern Front. And in winter, in the Soviet snow, they could not drive for a long time. Also, the Maybach HL 230 water-cooled engine was not quite suitable for the Russian winter because it quickly froze at such sub-zero temperatures, while the Sherman tank sent to the Soviet Union by Lend-Lease withstood such a winter. It is also worth noting that in this video, we have considered only the running capabilities of two tanks. Tanks definitely have their pros and cons in terms of guns and armor. You can write your opinion in the comments about this comparison of the two tanks. It will be very interesting to read. You can also support the channel by buying a coffee. Link in the description. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.